by the time you reach the top of private mercenary work. One bad contract can leave civilians dead, a government embarrassed, and your own name buried 3 companies deep. You think this business runs on courage. It runs on paperwork, deniability, and men cheap enough to replace. You enter through airports, compounds, and beige offices that smell like coffee, printer heat, and body armor left too long in a locker. The room holds veterans, recruiters, fixers, translators, procurement people, lawyers. The people missing matter just as much. Families, voters, the civilians living where the contract lands. Look at the cities tied to this trade. Northern Virginia office parks, Dubai hotel suites, Baghdad green zone compounds, ports, airstrips, ministries, embassies. A private mercenary outfit presents itself as risk management, if we're being honest. It sells organized force to whoever can pay and defend the invoice. Run 1 is the static post guard. You think you're joining elite security. You're really filling a body slot on a roster. Pay can run $140 to $250 a day in low-end contracts. Lifestyle is prefab housing, 12-hour shifts, bad sleep. Victim cost starts with the local population living around frightened men and loaded rifles. Your typical Run 1 hire is ex-military without pension comfort, ex-police, or a young man from a poorer labor market promised overseas money. Risk is high and uneven. Typical body count is often 0 until it suddenly is 3 in one afternoon. Typical sentence length, if something goes wrong, is often none for you and total loss for the dead. The first lesson nobody warns you about is boredom under weapons. Most misconduct starts there. A court-documented example sits in Nisour Square, where Blackwater contractors opened fire in Baghdad in 2007, killing 17 civilians. Several were later convicted, with sentences ranging from about 12 years to life, before pardons erased much of the punishment. Families lost parents, drivers, children.
Income. Year 5 at Rung 1 usually means exit, injury, alcoholism, or a lateral move into better paid convoy work. Promotion comes only if you keep discipline, paperwork, and nerves. The money sounds big back home, after taxes, broker cuts, medical wear, and months away.
Many families are left with a truck payment and a stranger returning home. Rung 2 is convoy security and mobile protection. Pay rises to roughly $500 to $800 a day on hot contracts. Lifestyle looks sharper from a distance. Better gear, more movement, more stories. The truth is you are now closer to ambushes, traffic confusion, and split-second decisions that bury civilians who never chose your route. Your typical Rung 2 contractor is more competent and more dangerous because repetition makes him confident. Risk includes IEDs, kidnappings, wrongful shootings, and your own team cutting corners. Body count across a year can still be 0. Or it can spike during one bad contact. Family cost is distance. Birthdays missed. Marriages thinning over encrypted calls. Most people stop here because the pay feels like enough, and the identity gets sticky. You are no longer a guard at a gate. You are a man in motion with a rifle and a story. The trap is comfort inside danger. Child support. The contract owns your calendar before it owns your judgment. A documented cautionary story comes from the Kabul traffic shooting cases involving contractors on protective details, where disputes over escalation of force led to criminal charges, civil claims, and years of legal exposure. Maybe you beat the case. Maybe the company folds and reappears under another name. The dead still stay dead. Their families inherit silence and bills. Rung 3 is team leader or site lead. Now you manage people, rosters, ammunition counts, incident reports, and the lies tired men tell after a shooting. Pay reaches $900 to $1,500 a day, sometimes more. Lifestyle becomes spreadsheets in a blast wall office. You think you left the trigger behind. You now supervise consequences. The typical person here is former special operations, senior infantry NCO, or a contractor who learned to speak the language of clients. Risk changes shape. Prison risk rises because your signature sits on policy and post orders. Victim cost widens. A bad briefing can kill your own men, a principal, or civilians at a checkpoint. This is where the job stops being a job. Seniors at this rung spend 80-hour weeks juggling local subcontractors, embassy demands, medevac plans, and radio logs. Specific titles matter. Team lead, site manager, protective security detail leader, one forgotten route recon, or one fake maintenance report becomes courtroom evidence with your name attached. A court-documented example sits with former Custer Battles executives and contractors, where fraud allegations tied to Iraq contracting led to long litigation over inflated claims and billing practices. Different kind of damage. Money drained from war zone support, while operators and civilians absorbed the downstream failure. Families back home lost health, time, and any clean version of the work. Rung 4 is operations manager or country manager. You are usually out of the turret and inside procurement calls, ministry meetings, and insurance disputes. Pay can run $180,000 to $300,000 a year, plus hardship bonuses. Lifestyle means airports, secured villas, armored SUVs, and a phone that ruins dinner in 3 time zones. The room gets smaller here. Former officers, former intelligence people, lawyers who can describe gunfire as compliance failure. Risk becomes strategic and reputational. One mass casualty event, one bribery scandal, one illegal arms transfer. And you can face extradition, sanctions, or a very quiet separation, while lower rungs take the headlines. Your typical Year 5 outcome at Rung 4 is promotion, burnout, divorce, or becoming the fall guy after an acquisition. Family loss is concrete. Children know your face through screens. Spouses handle funerals, moves, taxes, and school discipline alone. The body count tied to your desk may be indirect. But indirect does not mean small. A specific story. The DynCorp child sex abuse scandal in Bosnia brought allegations that employees bought and trafficked girls, while whistleblowers said the company retaliated against those who reported it. Criminal accountability was uneven. The victim cost was devastating and intimate. Young lives were treated like entertainment inside a war economy payroll system. Rung 5 is the principal, founder,
or executive who sells force as a service. Pay is no longer day rate money. It is equity, retainers, subcontract spreads, aircraft access, and government relationships worth tens of millions.
Lifestyle means compounds, top floor offices, and lures between your name and the field. Power is usually quieter than people expect. At the top, you rarely touch a rifle. You touch the contract, the local partner, the shell company, the risk memo. The typical person here is politically connected, operationally credible, and fluent in procurement language. The stakes become international incidents with footnotes, settlements, and selective memory. The Year 5 outcomes split hard. Promotion into bigger state work, civil suits, sanctions, rare prison, more often rebranding. Eric Prince remains the reference point. Blackwater became XE, then Academy. After Baghdad turned a contractor name into a global synonym for outsourced violence, he moved on. 17 Iraqi families did not move on from graves and missing wages. Look at the top long enough, and the glamour burns off. Wealth no longer registers because everyone in the room already has money. What matters is insulation. Who takes the call from Parliament? Who gets indemnified? Who can survive an inquiry? Status looks better from a distance. It smells like stale air and legal review. Years of watching this ladder taught you something plain. Private mercenary work rewards the same trait at every rung. Useful distance from the damage. Physical at the bottom. Bureaucratic at the top. The title rises. So does the cost. The people underneath carry blood, debt, trauma, or names omitted from the final report. So if you map your own life against this ladder, be honest about which room you are nearest. The gate, the convoy, the operations desk, the boardroom behind the contract. Climb carefully. Every level unlocks something and charges for it. Where on this ladder would you tap out?